Hello class. This week we are focusing on our final video forum. In this week's forum, we were asked to reflect on George Marsden's The Outrageous Ideas of Christian Scholarship. My personal thoughts about the book was positive. I thought Marsden was quite successful in showing the connection and the relationship of religious faith and intellectual scholarship. My first source that I reviewed, obviously, was the book by George Marsden himself, The Outrageous Ideas of Christian Scholarship. My second source was an article by Professor Jerome R. Porath, who reviewed the book, The Outrageous Idea of Christian Scholarship. Porath stated that Marsden's thesis is simply religious beliefs, particularly Christian beliefs, so affect a person's thinking that when that person expresses thoughts to others through teaching, those beliefs are embedded in a significant way. Mr. Porath review is definitely not one that you would say was positive towards the book by Mr. Marsden. In Marsden's book, he began it by setting historical context, citing the current reaction to the long-established and privileged position the Christian perspective held in higher education. My third and final source was from George Marsden himself. He published an article in response to those who had reviewed his book, The Outrageous Idea of Scholarship. This article was published in the Journal of Catholic Education in March of 1998. In the article, Marsden states that some who reviewed his book perceived him to say what he did not say, and he wanted to take the opportunity to clarify his meanings. Now, in his article, he went after Professor Porath professionally, but he went after him. In the article, George Marsden says, quote, "The most serious critique comes from Professor Porath, who reads me as falling into contradiction. On the one hand, I criticize the mainstream academy for setting up a positivist scientific standard for discourse, even though there's no scientific evidence that the natural scientific method provides the highest source of truth. Then, says Professor Porath, I turn around and assert that in public discourse, such as in mainstream academia, it is necessary to argue in terms of publicly accessible evidence and argument. This he sees as reestablishing for the public domain the principle that all discourse must be empirically verified." And then he goes on to talk about how he can understand how Professor Porath reads him that way, but thankfully not everybody does. And then he goes on to discuss Professor McElroy, who gave him a fine, excellent critique of his book. Now, on a personal note, I would like to say that I believe that Christians take a lot of heat for expressing their beliefs when they teach. All one has to do is look at how colleges and universities have changed in the last 30 to 40 years. It is not popular, nor is it liked, at least now these days, for Christians to express their worldviews and mix it in with their teaching. Back in the mid-90s, I attended the University of Arizona in Tucson. You were never to bring up your religious beliefs. You were never to intertwine them with any sort of response, lecture that you had. Even the teachers were not to bring up any religious belief. They were not to intertwine it with their lessons that they were teaching. I personally couldn't imagine being at any other school other than Liberty, where I know that my professors will share with me their Christian belief because it is mixed into their teaching. It is who we are. It is a part of us. And you can't just drop it at the door when you come into teacher class. So that's just my personal thought on that. I hope that you enjoyed my final forum. Hope everybody has a great evening and God bless. Thank you.